I stumbled upon one of Zeus's video, and I started like watching them every single day. I bought in for like a solid 2 years. I watched the free stuff. I bought Instagame. I bought the godly approach. Honestly, it didn't work, man. Like for those who are watching, if you actually watch his cold approaches, he actually looks like an amateur. He's not an expert.
How did you find Benjamin in the first place?
Honestly, my dating life was not that good, and I always wanted to improve my dating life, and so I stumbled upon one of Zeus's video of like dating and like how to text girls, how to approach them, and I started like watching them every single day. I was obsessed because this is something I struggled with in my life, and it really hit me deep. So I was like truly obsessed. And so I watched his videos every single day, and I just eventually followed his content, and he just became like the dating god in my world. And eventually I bought some of his courses and followed his advice.
When was that?
I was like around 18. I followed him for like a solid 2 years.
You were like struggling to get girls, and you saw his video on YouTube.
So whenever I saw like a cute girl, I was like really nervous, right? And like I didn't have like the urge to like cold approach because I didn't know that skill back then. But everything started to change when I found base Zeus, and I tried to cold approach, and I didn't feel the most confident when I did it because I didn't do it the way back.
Did you purchase any program, or did you just like watch the free stuff?
I watched the free stuff, and I also I bought Instagame. I bought the godly approach. And what else? Maybe just one more that I can't name.
How did it work back then? Did you have access like to a course, to a group?
I got access to, the Instagame course. It was about like $600, I think. And eventually I stumbled on this group where there's this like Instagram group chat where we all posted our pictures and got advice from other guys. And we all supported each other.
So you are just like with dudes in like a group chat. Did you get any results from those programs? Like what happened like in your life? Because you joined this program to transform your life, get girls, and did it work?
Honestly, it didn't work, man. It didn't work because I kind of put on a layer, and I thought this was the best way to get girls by, improving my Instagram, posting better pictures, and adding some cringe bios.
Okay, and did you make any friends in those groups? Did you see any guys like getting results with his framework, like the way he was doing things? Did you see any receipts?
Honestly, there weren't many like receipts, not many guys were posting like actual girls. They were just posting like, their pictures and asking for advice and asking other people to like their posts. But when it comes to like actual results, let's say it's like very few, and if they were actual like results, they were like kind of mid. And not the best looking girls, I would say.
You followed this for 2 years. You bought like 3 or 4 programs. It never worked. Then you were still like watching his webinar. You were willing to pay more, right? Even after like not getting any results. In what mode were you, because you get no results for 2 years and then you still follow him. You are still like willing to buy some stuff from him. Like what was your mindset?
Kind of sick and tired of not getting the results. So I was definitely willing to pay more. I attended his webinar for like a solid 2 hours. And then at one point he talked about this concept about like, how to get over the flinch, when you see a girl. At the very end, he didn't really explain how to get over the flinch. He was trying to funnel all his, little followers, and he wanted them to like buy his $700 course called the cold approach course or whatever. And he's if you want to find this answer, how to get over the flinch, you have to just buy my course and you'll get access to these videos on how to do that. And at that point I was like, no way, this guy's like really wanting me to spend $500 to $700 on this course, and I'm not sure if it was even good or not. Like I was like debating, to be honest. I looked on the chat, and I saw some people were like deleting these like messages, and then I saw like this guy's copying Frame's content. I started doing some research on you, actually, and I found your YouTube videos. There was like this 45-minute video that you posted about exposing base Zeus, and that really just motivated me to like, start my cold approaching journey. And the fact that you had like a solid in-depth explanation on how to actually cold approach really inspired me to start my own journey and follow, and do it the right way, because it is the only way.
Benjamin was also cold approaching. You've purchased his cold approach program, but you were still unable to cold approach, So it's time for people to understand that there are like many ways to cold approach. Cold approach is just not like one way. There are like many ways of doing it, and most of the way are like complete trash. How did you see that my way of cold approaching was different from what you've learned before?
Your way is like, you just have to be normal, be yourself, and just not like entertain the girl, but actually just talk to the girl like a normal person. And that way, the girl's able to see your authenticity and, just become interested in that way rather than, making her laugh with some jokes.
Why were you inauthentic? How did it manifest back then?
At that point, I started cold approaching, and, when I joined the close friends, I usually record myself and send an audio clip into the group so that I could get like solid advice. And, the mentors in that group would tell me that I would sound very robotic, unnatural. And, I felt like I wasn't being myself when I was talking to those girls. And most importantly, I didn't really have a solid connection with any of the girls I cold approached, because after watching, Zeus for 2 years, I kind of, started to become him. And, I've seen many videos and clips and, Instagram reels of this guy. And, I kind of like try to imitate his cold approach style. And I didn't really have a solid connection with any of the girls, because I tried to become him essentially.
When those coaches in my group like told you that you had layers, that you were sounding robotic, did you understand it straight away, or did it take some time?
When I was cold approaching these girls, I thought, this was, I'm just bad at cold approaching. And eventually, I read your book about layers, and some of them actually applied to me, and I realized that these were the things I had to remove to become, more myself rather than become someone I'm not.
Do you have any example of layers that were like symbolic, emblematic for you?
From the top of my head, the first one would be like, the gesture master, where I would try to entertain the girl by telling funny jokes and trying to make her laugh. And there's the other one where I became that typical gym bro where, instead of actually cold approaching and talking to women, I would just focus on hitting the gym and, building my physique. Ever since I started cold approaching, I realized that because I watched so much of his content, I kind of, like when I watched his cold approach videos, I realized that he just kind of interviewed the girl, and it sounded very scripted. And, he had all these questions in his head before actually getting her Instagram. So I kind of copied him and started asking these questions and, like just becoming more like him every single day. I think right now I still have his layer, I'm still trying to get rid of this layer. And, you gave me the advice where to actually remove this layer that, of, becoming like him, just have to cold approach the girls every single day.
It's also important that you catch yourself having the layers manifesting. Either like understanding it by yourself, or either like understanding it with our help, with our feedbacks and everything. I did that video like to basically help guys like you, because I knew that Benjamin Seda was misleading men to the point that they all like sound like robots, like you sounded before, and like you probably like sound a bit still now, because it takes some time to fade away. Not only he started to steal my philosophy, but he's also like misleading men. Even if he copies my stuff, even if he starts saying like, yeah, like just be normal, just be yourself, just do small talk during the approach, you don't need to gesture max, you don't need to do anything. He says all of that shit now. Just be normal. Why is it so fucking hard?
I'm literally just being normal.
You are not a stand-up comedian.
You are not a dancing monkey.
the fact that you came out of your way to talk to her, it's enough.
More than half the battle is just getting the balls to go up and just say hi.
Even if he says this, he didn't do the job of removing layers. As shown in my video, like he has no idea what he's talking about. And even if he knows about my philosophy, Derek, you know that it's not enough. You know that you have to learn, like you have to be in my group, you have to be like, to have constant feedbacks, I literally created those environments like for you, like to have constant feedback, because just getting the theory is not enough.
Like for those who are watching, if you actually watch his cold approaches, he actually looks like an amateur. He's not an expert. Like it just feels like he's figuring it out, like on the spot. And it's like kind of funny. Like even if he has your framework, you still have to actually apply it, but not just apply it for like a short amount of time, but actually do it long term to see the actual results.
He was in my close friends, but he never went further, He doesn't know about my texting framework. He doesn't know about like the retention framework. He doesn't know about anything, man. He's just using the premise of my cold approach framework, and he's like mixing it with his sauce, and it's just like, as you said, like he looks like a complete amateur. And what Benjamin Seda is doing is that he's figuring it out on the way. And like you are figuring it out on the way, right? Like it's the same for you, but do you teach people around you? Before you even think about like recommending it, like you have to figure out by yourself. It took me really like years, like to be able to teach, man. You saw it, right? With all the feedbacks I gave you, like whether it's for like cold approach, texting, dating. I did like hundreds of approaches, hundreds of dates, hundreds of conversations, texting women and everything. I couldn't teach back then, I knew it because I didn't want like to mislead people. If you want to learn how to cold approach the right way, like you are doing fine, but trying to teach on the way, like trying to make money, because he does it for money, obviously. He doesn't really do it because he loves teaching, because he's misleading men. So if he was a bit humble, if he was a good person, he would just like stop this bullshit. When I see you right now, like you look much more natural, by the way, than when I first heard your voice note. You are still super early in the journey, so it might be super interesting like to do another checkup to see where you are at. Because I know that you are going the right way now, and as long as you are taking action, I will always make sure that you are going in the right way.
I appreciate it. I used to follow Zeus, but it just felt like he was after the money rather than actually caring about the results his students or followers. It's kind of more personal between you and I. You actually care.
I have a last question for you, Derek. If you met someone who was planning to purchase Zeus program today, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to not waste his money on that stuff, because you won't get good results. You might get results if you're lucky, but to be honest, the best case scenario is you might end up with like a mid girl from Tinder. The worst case scenario, you end up marrying that mid girl, and you might have like ugly baby. It's game over, man. So rather than wasting your money on that stuff, just buy Bain's framework and just follow this guy, because he's the only one who's doing it right. If you're gonna cold approach, you gotta do it the right way. There's no point of wasting your time consuming useless cold approaching videos and just become your unauthentic self.
Join my close friends today and learn how to cold approach the right girls the right way.